सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः We have been studying about dependent and independent happiness. How is dependent happiness caused? Why do we have dependent happiness? It's because we very recklessly start creating, misconstructing, let us say, this whole thing about I like it, it gives me pleasure. I don't like it, it doesn't give me pleasure. And our whole life revolves around this thing to try and get all those things which give me pleasure and move away from all the things that don't give me pleasure. And this is as a yardstick of deciding is a bad one. Because very many good things which are good for us may not feel pleasurable at all. And very many things which are bad for us may feel very pleasurable. So as a yardstick, it's a bad yardstick. It's not a yardstick that we should use in our transactions. But people like sort of say, why can't I do whatever I want? And if you stop me from doing what I want, you are just treating me very badly and you are taking my independence away and you are interfering in my life and, all these various things. And they're right. There's no debate. Nobody can tell you what to take and not to take. Nobody can tell you what choices you're supposed to make in life. Nobody can interfere in your life. Okay, fine. As far as that goes, no problem. But if you don't do it yourself to yourself, there is going to be trouble. There is no two ways about it. Now, if you like something and you're forcibly kept away from it, you're bound to be miserable. If you don't like something and you're forcibly made to deal with it, you will again be miserable. So we have to think of another way, another perception. It's not like you're going to do anything different. It's going to see this a little differently. And when we do that, when we begin to see it a little differently, we start inculcating what is known as independent happiness. Right. So, shall we continue? Some people seek sensual pleasures, some emotional delights, and some intellectual satisfaction. Each one considers it his right to be able to pursue the thing he chooses. And so it is. No debate there. If you do have this right to pursue whatever you wish to pursue, that's your right. Nobody's debating that right. However, as a formula for happiness, it presents a lacuna. Even if one is free to pursue anything of one's choice, either lofty or ignoble, one cannot always attain what one wants. At some point, things do not pan out the way we wished. Our likes and dislikes are not, unfortunately, the blueprint on which the world works. The world doesn't go according to our likes and dislikes. It's not following the master plan of my likes and dislikes. Hence, we frequently meet with environments and situations, people and objects which are not to our liking. Thus, when happiness is dependent on getting what one wants, interruptions in our happiness are certain. I hope this is clear that if my happiness is completely dependent on my getting what I want, then there is no way I'm going to be happy. It's just not a workable deal. Why not? Because I may not get it. Having got it, we did all that, right? So if my happiness is supposed to be dependent on me getting what I want, this is not working. And it begins with the fundamental thing that I may not get it. It seems obvious, right? When you say it, it seems obvious, and yet it's not obvious in our own minds. But fortunately, there is another way. It is the inculcation of independent happiness. Okay, so here are our definitions. Dependent happiness is the happiness derived by having the things we want the way we want them. Independent happiness is the capacity to stay composed and balanced, even when things do not go our way. It is the poise and grace of maturity. If every time you meet a traffic jam, you start fretting and fuming, you're not being poised and mature, obviously. Every time your toast is slightly burnt or the dal has slightly less salt in it and you start getting mad about it, this is hardly a poised and balanced way of living. So, dependent happiness means it's exactly the way I want. When I want it, how I want it, all the criteria is fulfilled. Independent happiness is it is not what I want, or maybe it is what I want. In either case, I continue to be poised and balanced. I'm happy. Dependent happiness is the usual way to be happy. It requires no training. It is instinctive. Every child demonstrates it, as do many adults who persist in this childishness. Every child shows this, right? I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it. You give it to the child, smile. You don't give it to the child. And many adults behave like this too. So, dependent happiness it requires no training. Independent happiness requires training. It involves effort. However, it is permanent. Dependent happiness is alluring because it is instantaneous. Independent happiness takes a little longer as it requires maturing, an inner evolution that ensures an equipoise and unaffected grace in and through all that life has to offer. So there's a comparison between dependent and independent happiness. Dependent is usual, everybody does it. Independent requires training, growing up, maturing. Now people are not interested in it. And they're interested in dependent happiness because
Instantaneous.
dependent happiness gives you the promise of being instant. And we love things which are instant. We want it now. It's not enough to get it. I want it now. I want it now. So it promises to be instant. It promises to give you happiness. So you say, okay, I'll go for that one. Dependent happiness. Pehle thoda kaam karo. Put in time, put in effort, work on it, grow up as a human being. So many things we're going to do. So we get misled and go off on the wrong track. But when we say it like that, it just sounds like, oh my God, independent happiness must be some very complicated thing in life. Honestly, it is not so difficult because it is to humans as flying is to a bird. Every bird flies. It just has to grow. A fledgling won't fly, right? All the bird needs to do is grow up. For us to have independent happiness, all we need to do is grow up. Grow up not in our physical body, grow up in our mind and intellect. So it's not so tough because a human being is made for it. Just like the bird is made for the skies, a human being is designed to be independently happy. But he has to rise to that. So it's not that tough at all. And when you're on the right path, you feel that comfort, the comfort of doing the right thing. So there's a lot of indications to show that this is not something that we have to force into ourselves into. We're not pushing ourselves into a mold we are not. We're in fact removing ourselves from a mold we are not. Like the bird, it lives in the nest, but it's not meant for that nest. It's meant for the skies. So but it can do that only if it grows up, and it has to do it. It can't stay there. The butterfly cannot stay in the cocoon. It has to come out. It is its natural thing. So similarly for us, we have to come out of our self-inflicted torture. It is a natural thing. So sometimes when we say, oh, everybody instinctively takes to dependent happiness and we have to train and grow up, it sounds like, Bapre, I have to do something and it's becoming too much work. It seems like that, but actually you're just going to be yourself. That's all. The training is only to be yourself. That's it. So every bit of it becomes more and more pleasurable, which I'm sure most of you must have already experienced. So you understand, I'm doing something natural to me. I'm not doing something unnatural. Independent happiness does not imply that we do not attempt to get what we want and stay happy without it. And another misunderstanding. First one which we did was, oh my God, I have to do something very difficult. And no, it's not difficult, it's natural to you. Because you're a human being, it's natural to you. For an animal, it's not natural. An animal cannot be trained to be independently happy. Can't happen because it's not natural to them. It's natural to the human. So the first misunderstanding is I'm doing something abnormal, unnatural. No, you're doing something abnormal, unnatural by staying in the stench of that nest, not in flying into the skies. Independent happiness does not imply that we do not attempt to get what we want and stay happy without. Excuse me. So the second misunderstanding that we go through is, oh, I must seek independent happiness. That means I should never get what I want. How can that be? You will be totally frustrated. The child, when it grows up, the fledgling, the little birdie in the nest, is going to eat food. No, while it's in the nest, it's not going to stop eating food and wait, one day I'll grow up, then I'll catch something, then I will eat it. It's not like that. So obviously you're going to get whatever you want and try to be happy with it. There's no problem in achieving all these things of the world. So independent happiness does not imply that we do not attempt to get what we want and we stay happy without. Like now, young Deepraj, he may one day want to get married. Now, will we tell him, no, you shouldn't get married. You must get independent happiness. So why should you do that to get married? No. I mean, if you wish to, of course, we're not prescribing marriage for anyone. But if you want to, please go ahead and do it. No problem with that. So independent happiness does not imply that we do not attempt to get what we want and somehow stay happy without it. That's not what we're talking about. Because that is impossible. Needs have to be addressed. Independent happiness begins with taking responsibility for our happiness. You take responsibility for it. That's the first step. So, what is independent happiness? That you say, I am responsible for me to be happy. That's step one. Happiness is not an entitlement, it is earned. If you do not take that responsibility upon yourself, do not expect to be happy. Do not think that the whole world has somehow to take care of you. Why should it? We come with no assurances. Nobody had promised us that our wishes would be fulfilled if we condescend to descend to planet Earth. Did anyone give you this guarantee before you came here that if you go to planet Earth, all your wishes will be fulfilled? Were you promised something like that before birth? Nobody promised you anything like that, right? So what are you expecting it for? Nobody had promised us that our wishes would be fulfilled if we condescend to descend to planet Earth. Whatever we want, we will have to work for it. And we may or we may not attain it. It may work out as we desire, or it may not. We may be able to keep it or not. There are no guarantees. Isn't it? You may get it or not get it. You may, it may be the way you wanted it, may not be the way you wanted it. If it is the way you wanted it, you may keep it or you may not keep it. Nothing is guaranteed. But guess what? If we go about it the right way, happiness itself can be guaranteed. We will find a fulfillment all our own. That much can be guaranteed. That is independent. So even if you are going out into the world to get whatever your needs are, to address those needs, do it the right way. Now you may get that thing, you may not get that thing. It may be the way you want, it may not be the way you want. It may stay with you, it may not stay with you. But if you went about it the right way, no matter what happens, your happiness is guaranteed. But we would rather not examine our lives in this way. We insist on them being catered to immediately because their non-availability is uncomfortable and sorrow is repugnant to beings. Deepak Sethi, question? Do you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yeah, there is a question.
Mm-hmm.
So let's assume we've taken responsibility
Mm-hmm.
and we are going about it the wrong way. We may get that X that we talked about, which is, something which always creates havoc in our life because we think we get X, we'll be happy. If we don't get it and we are still happy, it means this happiness is coming not because we got X, but because we followed the right process. So it's coming from the process and not the outcome. That's what it means?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, fine. One other thing, in the previous paragraph, there was this line, we will find a fulfillment all our own. What does that line mean exactly?
Each one's fulfillment is different, right? So we may look at somebody and say, oh, I don't think he's happy, or I do think he's happy. Each one has his own individual fulfillment. We are all unique and different. And different people's, what should I say, fulfillment lies in different things. And you will find the one which is unique to you. So what happens is I will see somebody, I will see Bill Gates, or I will see some Jeff Bezos, say, I want that, I want that. Or something, you see somebody having a very good relationship or very good health or lost a lot of weight or whatever in the world. You look at somebody and you say, oh, that's what I want. So the author is suggesting that you go about it the right way and find your own particular fulfillment, that which will make you feel fulfilled.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't have to be somebody else's something.
Right. A corollary to the first one. Supposing you followed the right process, you also got X. Does it mean that your happiness units will be more, in fact, exponential, because you're following the right process, so you have the satisfaction, you're getting X. You also have the satisfaction that you figured out the right process and got the results. So does it mean that your happiness units kind of goes up in that situation?
Yes, there is a certain rise, but it's not exponential.
Yeah, I was saying exponential to hype it up, but yeah, the concept is, yeah.
Yes. I mean, you'll give me a nice word, you got it. But
So,
it's not making that much of a difference.
okay. Could it therefore be worded that even if you don't get X, you will definitely get the happiness which is inherent in following the process, the right process?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Take an
fine. Thank
example, no? So it becomes clear when Shahid Bhagat Singh is walking to the gallows, is he miserable?
No,
So it's okay. So if he had got it also, he'd have been as confident. And as he's walking to the gallows, and he's so confident as if he's going to sit on a throne or something. And he will be like that regardless of whether he got it or he didn't get it.
yeah, thank you.
Let's continue, Mahesh.
So, ma'am, just one question. So, what has he associated his happiness with? Because he's not achieving what he wants, and still he's happy. So, he does that mean that he has not associated his happiness with the goal or the achievement of goal?
Yes, this is one of the major things that you learn, that you do not associate your happiness with anything. He is not associating his happiness with anything. Happiness is a natural outcome of doing the right things. He just does the right things. And so he's just, sort of happy. Happy, I don't know what you mean by happy also. It's just balanced and poised and grateful and graceful and he's generally okay with anything. He's the kind of person who's very easy to live with because when things go wrong, he or she will not throw a tantrum. It's like, okay, it didn't work out this time. Better luck next time. So it's a sort of sporting spirit. Like suppose two people are playing some match, some tennis match or something, and then when the game is over, they go and shake each other's hands. They don't say, "I won't speak to you," or one of them doesn't sit down there and start crying. Okay, I lost this game. I'll win the next one. It's no big deal.
So,
So
I
would it be
think
correct to say that he's putting the happiness on the process, that he did the right thing for the country and, worked for that higher cause? So he's putting his happiness on the process, which is what the independent happiness is all about.
Not really. Happiness is a spontaneous emotion that comes to him because he has done that. For whatever reason, he was not able to follow the process. He'll still be happy. Like, so, sometimes you're saying, okay, I want to do X and Y and Z and A and B and C, and then I will get to my goal. But for whatever reason, you couldn't do it. So is he going to be miserable because he could not execute those particular actions? No, not really. Okay, couldn't do these. Let's figure out some others. The happiness is not something that what shall I say, that we are controlling directly. Happiness is always a byproduct. It's the byproduct of just consistently every time, every moment doing the right thing. Moment by moment. Now sometimes the right thing may not even happen. It's still okay.
Truly
But,
independent.
but we are seeking in and through all the activities. So, how?
We are seeking happiness through all the activities, and therefore we are suffering. If you seek to do the right thing in all your activities, there is no suffering of any type.
Okay. So seeking happiness is not the right way. Doing the right thing is the right way, and then happiness is a byproduct of it.
Yes. It is a spontaneous feeling, right? It's not I'm happy because I went and I don't know what, I went to the garden and I felt good. Or I went and I was with myself alone somewhere and so I felt good. This is all dependent happiness because you require those conditions for it to be happy. But it may happen that one day you're not well, so you can't do yoga. So you're a very disciplined person, you do your yoga every day. It may happen one day you can't do yoga for whatever reason. You're not well, somebody else is not well, but now you're not going to be miserable because you didn't do yoga today. So that's the difference. It's like, okay, I'm going to stay with the process. If you say it like that, that means if I don't do my yoga today, I'm going to be very upset.
But from the day we are born, I think we are accustomed to this thing that whatever you do, you should be happy. Means happiness is the goal, unsaid goal. So it is a wrong understanding from the day one.
The process, the way we go about it is the wrong understanding. I mean, that every creature seeks happiness is a given. And you seek happiness to the extent that you don't have it. So the further you are from happiness, the more ardent is that pursuit. And the more ardent the pursuit, the less happy you get. It's all rather, non-intuitive or counterintuitive. So you feel I'm very unhappy and now I have to do something to become happy. And then you start doing all those things, you're on the wrong track. And that's why so many people suffer, no, because it's so instinctive to, oh, I'm so miserable. Now I have to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'll be happy. It seems like the most obvious thing, but it's a wrong concept. And that's why they're struggling with happiness so much.
So focus on doing the right thing. So shift your focus from seeking happiness to doing the right things.
Yes.
Thank
All
you.
the time. What is the correct or appropriate action to be performed? That's all I'm thinking. So I'm not concerned whether I like it, I don't like it, what other people have to say. What is appropriate in this situation? This much I'm going to attempt to execute. And I will do it to the best of my ability. If I can't do it, well, so be it. Can't do it. But I did all I could. Remember Milton's great statement? They also serve who only stand and wait. There may be occasions where we can't do the right action. You'd like to do it, but you just can't for whatever reason. Well, my service now is to not do anything.
Thank you.
Jankiti, I have a question too.
1 second. Let me, Prashant, you had a question? Or you're okay now?
I'm okay with that. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does it have any relation with the ladder of fall? If your desire doesn't get fulfilled, anger arises. So, in between these two is the right action.
Yeah, I don't know whether you want to say in between. Right action is what you do, and when you don't do it, you go down the ladder of fall. Because then now you started focusing on what you want, what you don't want. Are you getting it? Are you not getting it? Has anybody else got more than you of that thing? So if you're focusing on doing the right action, then there's no question of ladder of fall.
But we have desire.
Mm-hmm.
Since we have desire, if there are only two options. If it gets fulfilled, we are good. We go the other way around. If it's not fulfilled, there's a reaction to it.
No, we are not good if it's fulfilled. fulfilled. If it's fulfilled, you get greed,
Or
you
greed.
get moha, you get arrogance. It's not like it's good. So that's not where we are going. What we are doing is just focusing on what is the right thing to be done here. Right, I don't mean morally right, just an appropriate action given the situation. Even if you have to shout at somebody and show a lot of anger, whatever is appropriate for that situation, you do. That is why Vedantin is not bound by, oh, I don't do this and I don't do that. No, in a certain situation, you may have to shout. In a certain situation, you may have to be finger on the lip. So, you don't know what is that situation and what is required in that particular situation. Sometimes you have to be aggressive, sometimes you have to be passive. All sorts of permutations and combinations may be required of us, and we have to be flexible enough to do it. Sometimes we just have to accept what is there. Sometimes we have to take up our talwar and go fight. So there's no do's and don'ts because you can't have. So anything that is the most appropriate thing in that situation, you have to know. Now that's the problem. How will you know? For that, you need an intellect. How do you get an intellect? You understand life. That's where Vedanta comes in.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes.
Samantha.
I have a question.
Sorry,
Actually,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
is it okay? Yeah. Is it true that we are not happy because of the content of the experience, but we are happy for the fact that we experience?
Not for the content, but for the.
We are not happy because of the content of the experience, but we are happy because of the fact itself that we experience.
Because of the fact we experience.
Just the knowing that you are experiencing is already delivering the happiness and not the content.
Not to everybody. See, to do that, you have to be trained.
Mm-hmm.
So where is happiness really being derived from? Bottom line is absence of desire. So
Yeah.
So that's the bottom line. Now, this expresses itself in various ways. When there is no desire, you can concentrate on the experience itself because you're not distracted by other things. And since your mind is there, it's not rushing here and there, you experience happiness. So this is just one of the many manifestations of it.
Mm-hmm. I was a little bit thinking like in an inverse direction. As you said, happiness is a state of no desire, but it feels like if you are aware of the experience, automatically there is no desire anymore.
Other way around. When there is no desire, your mind is available for focusing on the experience.
Yes, okay, then yeah.
So if you're still longing, then whoever you're talking to, there's more longing than just dealing with the experience.
Yes, okay.
Janki ji?
Yes, Sandra.
Janki ji, even after doing what we felt as a right thing.
Elsie, 1 second. Samantha's in queue. I think.
Okay, sorry.
Written that. Yeah, 1 second.
My question.
Also written, but doesn't discipline mean you do whatever may come? Whatever may come. But
Whatever comes, so if you have to stick to something, like whether we were saying morning studies or yogas, so you have to do whatever may come. But again, that again makes us miserable if for something like you said, if you're sick or you're not able to maintain, if that means like so the rigidity in discipline also can be miserable. It's just that, but again, doesn't discipline mean being rigid, not being flexible? So that was the confusion I was having, that where do we draw a line to that?
Okay. Firstly, discipline doesn't mean that you do no matter what happens. That's not the discipline. That's not the definition. Definition of discipline is you take those actions that take you to your goal. That's called discipline. Now, suppose you are now morning study. Why are you doing morning study? Because it will take you to your goal, which is self-development, developing the intellect, whatever it is you have kept as your goal. Now, one day it so happens that you have to go and pick up your husband at the airport, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, you don't want to go drive all the way to the airport, you want to study, right? But you are called upon here to do a certain action. You had married, you have enjoyed the benefits of that marriage. And now, when time comes to sacrifice your personal likes and dislikes, you say, no, Baba, I don't want to do. So that is not okay. So the right action in this thing is that you go and do whatever, or somebody's the neighbor's having a heart attack. You can't say, sorry, at my study time, you have a heart attack after 6 a.m. I'll get up then. You can't say all that, right? So appropriate action at that time is to do with what is the most sensible thing to do given that.
But also in a long term, say the family, as you said. So my husband is like a night person, and so the schedule with the dinner and kids, and then they wake up early. So then sometimes that is the dilemma in my mind. Of course, best of my capability, I try to do my schedule. You have to wrap up, there's time to this. But then again, I have to find a middle path to meet somewhere that to cater to their needs and to my needs that might mean shifting my morning study time to a little bit later or something. So then I always question, is that a right thing? Because at a point I started doing, no matter if I get less sleep, I will, but eventually everybody's like, you're looking sick, you need to get enough sleep. That is always a confusion in my mind and debate. How do I balance both my discipline and family life happiness and stuff? So that where I was coming again, do the right thing, what is do balance.
Yeah. So you must be clear about what you're doing and why you're doing. Right. So morning study is a sort of non-negotiable between 4 and 6. So try as far as possible, even if you do 5:15, 5:30, you do what you can. Um, and to make up for the sleep in the afternoon, instead of saying I'll study later, say I'll sleep later. I mean, I can sleep in the afternoon too, right? No, I'll sleep in the afternoon.
Work does not allow that. So yeah.
Okay. So now, since you're fortunately placed because it's your own work. I mean, you're not reporting to anybody. So see whether you can fit that into your schedule in some way. And if anybody questions you on that, well, just show all the research in the world that shows how a power nap in the afternoon makes you so much more efficient. You have to talk people's language. And of course, just do the best you can. You cannot be in vividha all the time. You have to take a decision and then do that, whatever it is. Try it out for 6 months. And if you feel that, no, I don't think that was sensible of me, change it, but change it after a few months. Because the nature of the mind is always, and tell yourself, I'm going to do this for this much period of time. And do it for this much period of time, even if you think you were wrong. Because the nature of the mind is to all the time create an indecision. So decide one way or the other, whatever you think is sort of reasonable for me to manage.
Right. Because again, that question comes, your discipline holds priority or your karma yoga towards your family. So that always is I think balancing act.
The fact that it's always being so shows that the mind is getting involved. You have to take a decision and stick with that decision, whatever your decision may be. And stick with it means for a particular period of time. You say what period of time you want to stick with them. But for that much time, you're going to do this. So that's how we gain control over the self. Otherwise, every 2 days, the mind will say, no, but that point and that point and that point. No. For 6 months, this is what, or 3 months, or whatever you decided, this is what I do. Yes, Elsie.
Janaki ji, even after doing what we felt as the right action, if we are not happy, that means we made a wrong judgment.
Or maybe you didn't make a judgment.
Judgment at all.
Because why should you be unhappy? If you have done what according to you had put in effort and decided for yourself that this is the right thing to do, and you did it, and it turned out to be wrong, then it only means that today I am wiser than I was yesterday. Yesterday I couldn't understand this was wrong, but today I can understand it's wrong. It's very matter of fact, right?
Okay.
So yeah, of
Okay.
course, if I grow, I'm bound to see everything I did in my past as stupid, insane, mad. Why did I do those things? But that's a good sign because that means today I'm wiser than I was yesterday.
Okay.
Why are you so dissatisfied, Elsie?
Because always I experience this.
Yeah, because think about why are you feeling that? Is it not true that you are wiser than you were yesterday if you find yesterday's actions wrong?
I feel that my intellect is not working or not mature enough. That is what then a self-judgment always happens.
But Elsie, that's true for all of us. Does anybody here have a perfect intellect? We are all growing. We will make mistakes. We will do foolish things. That's part of the game. If I do a foolish thing, I have two things to do after that. If it's rectifiable, rectify it by saying sorry or doing some acts or whatever, rectify. If it is not rectifiable, then decide what you're going to do from now on so that this will not happen again. I mean, change some action.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a good thing if you found that, oh my God, 10 years ago I did that, how stupid I was to do it. Then very good. That's a good sign.
Okay. Thank you.
Mahesh, is doing the right thing the right way also important? I don't know what you mean by this, Mahesh. Doing the right thing implies it's the right way. Otherwise, what is this thing you're doing which is right, but you're doing it the wrong way? That means you're doing it wrong.
What I meant was the template of a right action given in the Bhagavad Gita, where you don't think of the future, the past, you act in the present. I mean, that's what I meant by right way. So you could be doing the right thing. Like, I mean, I have to say, turn in an assignment and I work at it, but I'm irritated or, I'm just unhappy about the whole thing. That's what I meant by right way, in the sense we don't think of the fruit and the various ingredients that make up a right action. Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine.
that's how we define right action. No, he gives 6 points.
Okay.
That's part of right action.
Okay. Then it's fine. Thanks.
So Janaki, the 6 points of right action, is that in Bhagavad Gita?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have Swamiji's commentary?
No, but I will get it.
Okay. So, verse 30, chapter 3 gives the 6 points. I mean, he used to give it, then he edits it sometimes, and then sometimes he writes it as 3 points, and sometimes he writes it as 6 points. So, I don't know what the current version does, but you could break it either way.
So what are the 6 points? Just to recap.
The first one is action, dynamic action. Do, don't talk, do, be active. Surrender your likes and dislikes to a higher goal. Direct all actions to the goal. That's the first 3. And the second, this is what generates energy, and what dissipates energy is past, present, and future. When your mind rushes to the past, or rushes to the future, or gets excited in the present, you're dissipating energy. So 3 ways of generating energy and 3 ways of not dissipating.
Not dissipating. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Alagappan, how you do is more important than what you do. Yes, Alagappan, what that means is that how you do in the sense of why are you doing it? What is the motivation in doing it is more important than the action. And action is the quality of the action, is the quality of the thought, of the motivation behind it. That's what it means. How you do it is more important than what you do. Like you're giving somebody a gift and you throw it at their face. And how you do it is more important. Meaning that your motivation, your thought behind it is what is of greater value and importance. So that determines the quality of your action. Rashmi, is it correct to say that it comes down to desire again? That we should do what we think is right, but should not hang our hat on the result, nor should desire a certain result? Yes, that is true, Rashmi. But you cannot not desire a certain result. That would be a little difficult. So you have to see what did I leave undone that that result didn't come. And if according to me, I have done everything possible and the result didn't come, well then so be it. But first I have to examine, did I leave something undone? Because it's the easiest way out. It's tamasic, say, okay, I did everything, but God didn't give it to me. What is that supposed to be? So I did everything and I will continue to do everything until that result comes. You can't just give up and say, oh, I tried. No, please try 1,000 times. Einstein tried, not Einstein, who was he? Edison tried to failed at making the light bulb 999 times. So after 100 attempts, he can say, that I tried 100 times, it didn't work. If you're dedicated to something, you go on and on and on and on until it is done. The first time, to raise funds for buying the plot for the university, the first time round when we ran the campaign, we raised only about half the funds we required. And then obviously you can't buy the plot because you have half the money. And we could have given up at that stage and said, now what? Now you can't run another campaign immediately. Nobody's going to give you anything. But you wait a year and then you run it again. And then we had enough money. Otherwise, you give up and you say, no, now we couldn't do it. It was so difficult. Yes, it's difficult. Nobody told us this was going to be easy, but we'll keep at it till it's done. Okay, Rashmi, so what you're saying is correct.
Yes, Janaki-ji. Yes, that makes sense. Thank you. But I guess as far as happiness is concerned for that particular action, I mean that you're right. Like I guess we should keep trying until we reach the goal. But as far as the happiness aspect of it goes, I guess we shouldn't attach ourselves too much to the desire of getting it a certain way. Correct?
Yes, but it's not that we shouldn't attach ourselves too much. We should not attach at all. Your fun is in the work. So have fun.
Thank you.
Janki-ji, just one more. This is in extension to LC's thought process. Supposing we have done our thinking, let's say to the best of our abilities. Yeah. Scenario 1, having done what we think is right, meaning we processed it right, you still get that little uneasy feeling saying that no, you're not comfortable with what you need to do. Now, what could that indicate and how do you deal with it?
Quite wide. Sometimes it's your conscience telling you that however logical this is, it's just not the right thing to do. So it could be the conscience. It could be that you have jumped to a conclusion and you know that you have not done all the work, and so you're uncomfortable because you really needed to put in more thought than you have currently given. It could also be just the mind balking and having to do something it doesn't like to do. So
Yeah.
it's too wide a range, too many possibilities, too many. Yeah.
I know. I think that point is very well taken. That uneasiness can be coming, as you've expounded, by any of these three triggers. The question is, how do you determine which one is
No,
it?
there are more
Because
triggers also. It could be
yeah, they could be.
you know it's the right thing to do. It does happen in life. Sometimes it is the right thing to do, but if you did it, you will have public opinion against you, whatever that public opinion is. And you are not happy to have public opinion against you. So there are multiple reasons why this can happen.
Yeah. So how does one put one's finger onto what is the right reason so that you can process it and then move ahead? Because if it is, these kind of things that you're afraid of the public opinion, or, in which case you will say, sorry, that's the right thing to do. Meaning it's immaterial what people feel. If you feel it's uneasy because somewhere down the line, your logic has got contaminated or is not thorough enough, you will revisit it. And the last one, of course, is the trickiest one, because if it is the conscience speaking to you, saying that you're missing out something, which is deep down, meaning obviously, authentically, you tried your best. Then, so how does one distinguish which of the triggers it could be?
I mean, the theoretical answer is your intellect has to do it. If your intellect is not strong, it will not get it right. However, now all of us don't have a strong intellect. Let us take that as a given, especially in these difficult things. So I can tell you something that I have used personally, and I find it useful. It's certainly not a theoretical answer, but if you like, I can share it.
Please do. That's exactly what the request is.
So I don't even know whether it'll be true for you, but you can try it. I find that when I get the right answer, there is complete silence within. There is some contented silence within. And that is usually my yardstick to know that I'm on the right track. I mean, like when I'm thinking, okay, so what is any question I have, I get this certain silence within that tells me that I'm on the right track. I'm not wrong if that happens. So I suppose it'd be the same human mechanism for everybody, but I don't know. You all can tell me whether you all experience this as well.
No, it makes sense. And that's been, I think, everybody's individual experience. We may not have noticed it. Now that you have spoken about it, most of us will try and see, if we felt that and so on. Yeah, and if we didn't feel that, then it means there is something we got to revisit. And if the intellect is sharp enough to pick that up, fine. Otherwise, you just go with, meaning you do it, you take a conscious call then what to do with it.
Yes, Janaki ji, because otherwise your mind will keep on debating, no?
Yes.
Yeah, I have
Once you got
experienced.
the right answer to something, it's just quiet within.
Right.
You know you hit the nail on the head somehow. Momita, I doubt that will work with me. Maybe Momita, I have no idea whether this will be universally true. It's something I personally use. The universally true answer is, of course, a strong intellect. How is objectivity to self related to renunciation? Rather, is it? How is objectivity to self related to renunciation? Yes, of course it is. You define all these terms and then you will see. So can you define it, objectivity?
Objectivity is when I can see things for what they are without without an agitated mind.
Okay, so if you could just Simply, you say objectivity is nothing but the intellect governing the mind. Right?
Right.
Now, what is the definition of renunciation?
Outgrowing something.
Okay. So what does that mean? That that desire is not there? So the more you have absence of desire, or a better way, the less there is the presence of desire, the more easy is objectivity.
Right. But the thing is, our desires, even when they reduce in areas which are anyway not a great focus of attention for us. And
That
yeah.
is only in the initial stages. I mean, the what shall I say? The junk, superficial junk goes off first, and then of course the deeper desires also go.
Yeah, but yeah, so that objectivity towards oneself is hard, and then that confusion remains, and you're not sure whether it's your conscience or your tamas that is playing out. So then you give up the whole thing in resignation, saying, okay, this is my benevolent ego, and then solve it.
Well, what can I say? This is a human condition. We will all suffer it, and we will suffer it till realization. We are never going to be 100% sure about anything, but we just have to do the best we can. And you have to have your own internal guide of whether it is the best you can or whether it is tamas. It's your own internal guide. Nobody can really help you there in terms of right and wrong for you. But of course, you can analyze it with people and all of that. That you can do. And it's always easy to reach out to a stronger intellect, just in case you have missed out on any part which you have not considered. So that's useful. But for that, of course, people have to have access to somebody with a higher intellect. You may want one, but it may not be there. So as a general rule, it's difficult to say these things. But if you do have somebody who you feel has a better intellect in whatever you're deciding, then take benefit of that additional knowledge. I mean, that you do normally, right? Your stomach is hurting, you tried all your home remedies, they didn't work. Then you now go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So it's sort of commonsensical that you take the easy way out. You don't, start studying MBBS because your stomach is hurting.
Right. Yes. Thank you.
Bharat, isn't it easier to rule out the mind's voice with its constant chatter? What do you mean, Bharat?
DS had pointed out, right? How do you determine if what is what? So, I mean, easier to rule out the mind's voice, correct?
Rule out means?
Meaning this is, in a sense, mind is playing up here.
Yeah, but then you have to first identify that, right?
Yes, true.
So that was his question. How do you identify that?
No,
I
if
mean-
the mind, since the mind is so indecisive, it'll keep throwing up options, but what if this, what if that? And so that makes it easier to say.
No. The mind is indecisive. The mind is also rigid. Try convincing an emotional person to do something that they don't want to do. It's almost impossible. And I'm sure, Bharat, you have experienced that. You can convert a person whose head works. You can never convert a person whose head doesn't work. So just the theory that, oh, as long as it's not moving, it's we are good. It's not the mind. That's not true. Mind falls in love with things, and you can't shift it out. You need an intellect to shift out of whatever it is thinking. So isn't it easier to rule out the mind with its constant chatter? Not really. Because its constant chatter is also the mind and rigidity is also the mind. I mean, indecisive is mind and rigidity is also mind.
Okay. Good luck, DS.
Good luck to us all, Bharat. There is no part of this which is easy. But if we are able to somehow conquer it, then the rewards are stupendous. Okay, so that's it for today. We will continue next time. I think you all know, right, that we